The first time anyone noticed it, the footage had already been recorded for 6 hours, watched by no one, archived by a system designed to forget unless something went wrong. It was only when a night guard scrubbed backward through the timeline, looking for a mundane explanation for a triggered alert, that the shape revealed itself, standing motionless in the corner of the frame where the wall met the dark. It had not entered, it had not emerged, it was simply there, occupying space without announcing its arrival, as if the camera had only just caught up to a reality that had existed all along. Surveillance cameras were never meant to see beyond intention. They were built to document movement, to confirm theft, intrusion, accidents, events with clear beginnings and ends. Yet across decades of recordings, from private homes to abandoned institutions, cameras have captured anomalies that resist classification. These recordings share a quiet consistency. No dramatic setup, no human anticipation, no ritualistic invitation. The camera records because it always does. And within that passive observation, something else appears, something that behaves as though it understands it is being seen. In many cases, the environments are unremarkable. A hallway after midnight, a storage room lit by a single bulb, a child's bedroom illuminated by infrared light while the household sleeps. What distinguishes these places is not their appearance, but their history. Locations where time seems to have folded inward, where grief lingered too long, where isolation became routine, where moral boundaries eroded slowly rather than shattering at once. Cameras installed for safety or convenience unknowingly become witnesses to presences that do not belong to the living, yet do not behave like the dead. One recording, recovered from a defunct manufacturing plant, shows a long corridor lined with rusted lockers. For nearly 40 minutes, nothing changes. Dust drifts, pipes tick as they cool. Then the air near the far wall begins to distort, bending light in a way inconsistent with temperature fluctuation or lens error. The distortion condenses into a vertical mass, darker than shadow, its edges unstable. It moves forward without walking, passing through physical barriers without resistance. When it reaches the camera's field of view, it slowed. The distortion sharpened slightly, as though adjusting to the act of being observed. Then, for several seconds, the mass oriented itself directly toward the lens. There was no face, no features, yet the orientation carried unmistakable awareness. Moments later, the footage cut to static, despite no interruption in power. In domestic settings, the encounters are more intimate and often more disturbing. Home security footage frequently captures presences during periods of sleep when consciousness loosens its grip on the environment. In one case, a camera mounted above a staircase recorded a figure standing at the base, its outline faint but consistent across frames. The figure remained still for over 8 minutes. It did not ascend, it did not retreat, it waited. When the homeowner later reviewed the footage, they reported an overwhelming sense of dread that preceded recognition, a visceral certainty that something had been in the house long before they saw it on screen. Attempts to rationalize these recordings collapse under close scrutiny. Compression artifacts do not maintain coherent form across multiple angles. Reflections do not trigger motion sensors calibrated for mass. Air currents do not avoid specific areas while moving freely through others. In one documented case, a presence repeatedly altered its path to circumvent a corner where religious symbols had been placed after earlier disturbances. The camera recorded the deviation clearly, a smooth, deliberate curve away from the object, followed by a resumption of its prior trajectory. No physical barrier existed, only meaning. Some recordings suggest interaction beyond passive observation. Objects shift in response to unseen pressure. Doors open and close with measured force, stopping halfway as if reconsidering. Pressure-sensitive flooring registers weight where nothing visible stands. Thermal imaging reveals cold regions that retain defined shapes while draining heat from their surroundings, moving against natural gradients. These anomalies persist long enough to be tracked, measured, and dismissed by none who examine them closely. The presence behaves less like an accident and more like a participant. Psychological responses to these recordings introduce another layer of unease. Viewers frequently report sensations that precede conscious recognition of the anomaly: nausea, dizziness, a sudden awareness of being watched. In controlled studies, individuals unfamiliar with the footage experienced elevated stress responses even before identifying anything unusual on screen. Some described intrusive thoughts or vivid mental imagery unrelated to the environment they were in, as though the act of watching opened a channel rather than merely presenting information. The implication unsettles researchers. The camera may not be a neutral observer, but a bridge. Historical locations amplify this effect. In an abandoned hospital wing closed after a catastrophic fire, cameras installed to deter vandalism recorded what appeared to be a human figure performing routine tasks long after the building was sealed. The figure wore outdated medical attire and moved with mechanical precision, repeating gestures associated with patient care. When it reached the final bed in the ward, it stopped, bowed its head, and remained motionless. Then, without transition, its form collapsed inward, dispersing as if drawn into an unseen void. Archival records later confirmed that a nurse matching the figure's description had died in that ward, attempting to evacuate patients who never left their beds. Equally troubling are recordings where no figure appears at all. Instead, absence becomes the evidence. Children's toys activate in empty rooms, responding to unheard prompts. Chairs scrape backwards in unison, aligning themselves around tables as though accommodating invisible occupants. Audio synchronized with video captures whispered speech too faint to register consciously, yet forming discernible patterns when isolated. Linguists analyzing these sounds have identified fragments of obsolete dialects spoken with rhythm but no breath. The camera records no mouth, no movement, only the disturbance of air shaped by intent. Efforts to reproduce these phenomena under controlled conditions consistently fail. Cameras placed in sterile, newly constructed environments record nothing beyond technical noise. Those installed in spaces marked by prolonged emotional intensity, grief, isolation, unresolved trauma, tell a different story. The presences appear selectively, as though drawn to places where human experience has saturated the environment. This pattern suggests not randomness, but appetite, not haunting in the traditional sense, but a form of coexistence that feeds on memory rather than flesh.